Hello everyone, and welcome to cracka episode 2. Basically, I'm continuing my review on some of the comics I've gotten recently. We're going to start with the Ultimate Spider-Man #1. I haven't read it yet. All I know about Spider-Man, the new Ultimate version, is that it's a guy named Miguel, I believe, and he's a black Hispanic Spider-Man. And he's got a pretty cool looking new costume. That's pretty much it. I haven't opened it. I'm probably just going to read online and keep this one sealed just for collector's sake. Moving on to DC. Flash #1. It's the Flash. It's pretty much what it is. He runs around. He stops a couple of criminals here and there, and then somebody actually dies from something that he thinks he created. So the whole point of the book is him trying to figure out if it was him that killed the guy, the scientist guy, or if it was just a fluke kind of thing. It wasn't bad. You can't say it could have been better because it's the Flash. People who like the Flash will like this one. It was cool. It's Barry Allen again, which is cool to start off with. Keep him as the Flash. As much as I like Wally West, Barry Allen, he's the original guy basically. It was cool. It's worth picking up if you like the Flash. Moving on to Batman #1. This one, it was interesting. It starts off with Batman fighting pretty much everybody in Arkham Asylum, and then all of a sudden it shows the Joker. It looks like the Joker's teaming up with Batman to kick the crap out of the criminals. And Jim Gordon's like, that wasn't you fighting alongside the Joker, was it? When they review the tape, and Batman's like, of course not. And he goes, why would you think that? And he, even though it clearly shows on the tape the Joker not touching Batman at all, just beating up the other criminals and side by side. Later on, you find out that the Joker in the asylum actually was Dick Grayson, who was Nightwing, and he's got some kind of holographic head that disappears and turns back into Dick Grayson. And it's pretty cool because Batman's got some interesting new gadgets. He is able to link the Batcave now, anything he wants from the Batcave, through his eyes. If he looks at something, he clicks, I don't know, he says something or clicks something, and he's able to do all sorts of stuff. He can access people's files, anything, their weaknesses, through him just looking at stuff, which was interesting. Even though it starts at #1, it's not really a complete relaunch, I guess, from scratch, because it's still Dick Grayson is still Nightwing, Tim Drake is still the Red Robin, and his son Damian is the new Robin, and Batman still has his Batman ink. But it was a cool book. It was very interesting reading it. I liked it. Moving on to Batgirl #1. I didn't get the first printing. I got the second printing, which usually pisses people off, and it kind of pisses me off because I heard that if you get the second printing, it devalues it. But I wanted to read it. I give it a shot. It's Barbara Gordon. She's Batgirl again, which is kind of cool because the last time you saw her, she was Oracle and she got shot by the Joker. But in this, she's getting hunted by some unknown killer who's just knocking off people left and right, and her name is the next on the list. And apparently the person doesn't know she's Batgirl. They show Batgirl being Batgirl, stopping crimes. And she winds up in the hospital trying to save somebody that this guy is the next person on the list. And the criminal pulls a gun on her, and all of a sudden she reverts back to remembering what the Joker did to her and shot her, and she freezes. She doesn't know what to do. She's like, I can't move. She's frozen in fear because she doesn't want to get shot and crippled. And then all of a sudden she snaps out of it and starts attacking the guy. But it was cool. I'm not really a Batgirl fan, but it was actually a pretty good comic. It's worth picking up. Moving on to Batwing #1. Interesting, very interesting. It's set in Africa. Basically, this guy's parents, just like Bruce Wayne, they die in a terrorist thing, and Bruce Wayne basically funds him. He's actually a cop, which is interesting. Bruce Wayne funds him as as a Batman of Africa. He's Batwing, and the whole point of the comic is this guy, even though he's a cop, he's trying to arrest this guy called. I forget what he's called, but he's basically he's the Batman version of Doomsday. He just wants to kill everything, and he winds up targeting the Batwing guy, and Bruce Wayne just keeps, through the whole thing, like, is instructing me, you have to instill fear on people, like, right from the start. You got to make them afraid of you so that they're careless and they'll screw up and, you won't get hurt. But, a lot of people said it sucked, but I thought it was interesting. It's a nice little twist on certain things. It's worth taking a look at. Moving on to Nightwing, number 1. I actually like his new costume. I thought it was pretty cool. The red and the black is cool. Basically, the whole point of this comic is that his carnival that he was at when he was a kid, where his parents were killed, show back up in Gotham, and he can't decide whether or not he wants to go visit and try to, see his friends, stuff like that. It also shows him in, like, his apartment. Basically, he just is kind of, like, I guess, lazy, because he just throws his costume wherever it lands. And he constantly talks about Bruce Wayne, how, like, OCD Bruce Wayne is, where, he takes his costume, puts it in the vault, and everything's got to go in its spot, whereas Nightwing just kind of comes in and throws his stuff. It's pretty much it. I mean, it wasn't bad. It didn't have much to it, other than he's still deciding towards the end, like, whether or not he wants to go visit the carnival. I guess we'll see. Moving on to Action Comics number 1. It's funny, even though this is Superman, it really has nothing to do with the other Superman book or the Justice League. It's basically Superman doing what Superman does. He's stopping crimes. He's doing what he can, and, like, no one knows what to think of him yet. It was actually a lot better than the Superman book. Surprisingly enough, it actually was a lot cooler, and I liked it a lot more than the Superman one. I guess we'll see how it goes with the second issue. Next is Green Arrow number 1. It wasn't bad. He's kind of high tech now. It's also, like, a lot with, it's Oliver Queen, and he's basically trying to do, like, juggle his corporation and being Green Arrow, but it's more like he's happier being Green Arrow than Oliver Queen, and, like, his company is pretty much getting run into the ground, and he doesn't seem to really care. He's just kind of like, I have stuff I have to do. I'll do what I can, but I'm more interested in being Green Arrow, which is, commendable. But it's kind of like the Superman number 1. They threw a lot in there, and they're trying to, I guess, like, pack them in, like, all this stuff into one thing to try to get you to read it. It wasn't too bad. It's like a scale of 1 to 10. It was probably maybe like a 7. Moving on to the Red Lantern number 1. This was actually a really cool comic. I forget what this guy's name is. The leader, c.r.a.c.k.a or something like that. He basically is losing his powers because he's not getting angry anymore. He's not really upset as much as he used to be, I guess. Kind of like the Hulk. And his team is basically, they're still pissed, and they're all wondering what's going to go on, because they're all hanging out on this planet, and they're not doing anything other than being pissed at each other. He turns around because he's trying to figure out what he's going to do now that he doesn't seem to be angry. He finds in his, like, trophy room, is basically what he calls it, the dead body of one of the Guardians that basically created him in a roundabout sort of way. And that kind of fuels him, where he touches the body, and he remembers why he became a Red Lantern, and how his family was killed and all this stuff, and it pisses him off to no end. But then all of a sudden he finds purpose, whereas he's like, I'm angry, I'm upset with everything happened, but I'm gonna help people rather than, I guess, destroy them, which doesn't bode well on his team, because they think he's getting weak, and he should be destroyed, and somebody new should take over. And then all of a sudden it flashes to New York, where, like, it's commentary by the Red Lantern saying how he wants to help people that are in trouble, that are angry. So I guess Red Lantern, he's becoming a social worker. Okay, but it was a cool comic. It was actually worth getting. Moving on to my last review is the Green Lantern number 1. Another one that was interesting. Basically, Sinestro now is a Green Lantern again. He no longer has his yellow ring. It doesn't base on fear or anything. The Guardians basically say to Sinestro, "We believe in you. We think you're a great Green Lantern, and we really want you to be the Green Lantern again and start putting everything into order again." At first, he's kind of like, I don't want to be a Green Lantern. I was better off as a Yellow Lantern, but I was the greatest Green Lantern. Now he gets into that kind of thing. So he takes the ring, becomes the Green Lantern, and starts hunting down all the old Yellow Lanterns. He winds up killing one of them, and because the guy, one of the lanterns he kills is like, "Oh, what are you doing here? And why are you in green?" And Sinestro just kind of snaps his neck with cuts his head off kind of with giant green scissors. Then it switches to Hal Jordan, where Hal Jordan has no powers anymore. He's basically just plain old Hal Jordan, a test pilot, and nobody wants to deal with him. So he's kind of out of work. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And stuff starts blowing up, and he can't do a thing about it because no matter what he does, he's still human. He can't do anything. He winds up going back to his apartment where Sinestro actually shows up and says, "I want you to be my second in command on my new Green Lantern Corps. But you have to follow my orders exactly. If you don't follow my orders or do exactly what I say, I'm gonna cut the power away from you, and you'll be normal Hal Jordan again." That's pretty much how it ends. But it was very interesting how it went into that. That's pretty much it for my comics that I've gotten, my recent ones. It's my review. I hope you enjoyed the review. Hopefully it'll help you if you want to actually buy a couple of them. So thanks for watching again, episode 2, and I'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye.